And I'm very excited today to be joined by Alan Hickman, and he is going to tell you over the next hour the secrets to attracting your perfect romantic partner. And I have used his attraction process before through both all of my partnerships and also to attract business partners in the past. And he's led me through his process. And I found it to be very effective, and I can't wait to share it with you. So first, I'll just tell you a little bit about Alan. And I want to encourage everyone who is watching, if you're watching this live, you can type a question in the chat box on the right-hand side. And Alan is available to answer your questions based on what he's saying. And feel free to just write something to introduce yourself and where you're calling from and what you're excited about. So we're happy to have this be interactive. So I'll tell you a little bit about Alan, and then we'll jump in. So Alan is the co-founder of Perfect Customers Incorporated, together with Jan Stringer, and she's the founder of the company. And Jan is known as the author of the global best-selling book, Attracting Perfect Customers. And I'm excited to talk about the link between business and love later, because it's very fun. And when Alan first read the subtitle to Jan's book, which is The Power of Strategic Synchronicity, he was awestruck with the concept of strategic synchronicity because he saw that he was attracted to the idea of teaching this message. And Alan was an early adopter. After attending several trainings, he started teaching Attracting the Perfect Mate classes for perfect customers. And little did he know that he would experience his own strategic synchronicity when another door would open, which led him to become Jan's business partner and perfect mate, which is such a great story. I can't wait for you to tell us about it. And Alan is described as the world's greatest cheerleader, which I've experienced. He's a team player and provides transformational coaching and certification programs to a global clientele. So in the next hour, Alan's going to give you everything you need to get started on your way to creating the perfect romantic partnerships that are in alignment with what's most important to you. And along the way, he'll show you how you can attract more success through their special training classes and coaching groups. And he'll tell you more about that later. So before we get into all of that, let's just jump in and get started and learn the art of attracting your perfect romantic partner. So welcome, Alan.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Good. It's great to have you. And I've noticed sometimes the video is cutting out a little, but your audio is crystal clear. So if you notice, if the listeners notice, if the watchers notice the video is cutting out, then that's totally fine, because I want to hear everything Alan has to say. So Alan, I know that a lot of people have heard about the law of attraction through watching movies like The Secret. And I'd like to ask you, first of all, how do you understand the law of attraction, and how does that fit to what you teach to your customers and everyone listening?
It's law of attraction, basically distinguished by like attracts like, or that which is likened to itself is drawn. And romantic, a lot of times we think opposites attract, and it's opposites attract because there's masculine and feminine, and there's a polarity. So that's the opposite that we're talking about around relationship. But what makes relationships stick is really discovering. That's step number 2 in the strategic process. And what I've discovered is that when people really get clear what makes them tick, that leads to them discovering that that's what was underneath any successful relationship that they had that allowed that relationship to stick. So law of attraction is, like attracts. In a relationship, you can still have opposites. You can have masculine and feminine, and there's an attraction there, quantum mechanics, physics, but there's a way to keep the magnets polarized, shall we say.
Exactly.
And we may get into that when I get to tell you some of the stories of my experiences. I think I love one of those. You're a unique relationship coach, and that comment about stop fighting. And what I've discovered is that fighting in a relationship generally comes from what I would call a power struggle,
Right.
where I feel I'm not in power. And the strategic attraction planning process discover how to make decisions and based on what's important to you.
Yeah,
And so that was
exactly.
another thing that you mentioned about strategic attraction. And when I
Definitely.
discover, what's most important to me and know that I can have that I can have a strategy and I can consciously, deliberately have a strategy for having what I want in a relationship, boy, the power struggle goes way down.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know, it's about law of attraction, but it really does. It all starts with law of attraction, and relationship also starts with this magnetic attraction of polarity.
Well, exactly. And
So
I
that's sort
think
of the
what you're
difference.
saying is two very complementary things that, if I'm hearing you correctly, the law of attraction is really, and what the strategic attraction process does is it helps you boil down what makes you tick, and in a way where you really get in touch with your deepest values and your purpose. And once you really boil that down, you want to attract somebody, or once you boil it down, you will attract somebody who is like that in terms of what's most deeply meaningful to you. And then within that, we can play
Mm-hmm.
with all of these complementary opposites like masculine, feminine, and all the other opposite qualities that make a relationship fulfilling and where you can learn and grow from each other. And but what I've found is very much in alignment with what you're saying, is that what makes a relationship compatible in the long term is if you have shared values and shared purpose, and where your deepest goals and dreams are in alignment. And that's what you're saying, that the strategic attraction process helps you to boil it down to, and that's what creates that clarity that allows you to use the law of attraction.
Yeah, if what you say is true and that shared values and shared purpose is really what makes a relationship stick, if you will, or happen, then it would be really important for me to know what my values are and what my purpose is.
Yeah, exactly. And
And
that is,
so,
yeah.
yeah, so you've basically given a little secret behind the strategic attraction planning process. It's a simple 5-step process that allows anyone to discover the answer to those questions. What are my values? What's important to me, and what's my purpose? And literally, you mentioned about the mate classes. It was an interesting happening, I guess you'd say. I was working as a director of sales and marketing for a telecommunications company, and the company was about to get sold, so I knew I was going to have to find a whole new job, a whole new way to replace a very good income.
Yeah.
And I'd heard about coaching, and I thought, well, coaching, I don't know, I seem to have, so that attracted me, but I couldn't see how I was ever going to make a consistent six-figure income. Well, interesting, synchronistically, at that moment, in time, a friend of mine handed me a copy of Attracting Perfect Customers, The Power of Strategic Synchronicity. And like you said, I was really fascinated by that subtitle. And after about 20 minutes of reading through the book, I looked up at my friend and I said, wow, this is energy I think that I can to learn how to exchange my gifts, my talents, my skills, and live my purpose for money. Now, at the time, I had no way, no way of knowing how I was going to create a consistent six-figure income. Um, but within a month, my friend had invited me to come to Houston and do a training with Jan Stringer, the author of the book, and she showed me how I could do that, create a coaching package and program that I could exchange for money. And sure enough, I've made a six-figure income ever since. Now, what she started me on at the very beginning was, she said, well, we're thinking about writing a book called Attracting Your Perfect Mate from Dinner Date to Soulmate. And I was fascinated by that. And so Jan had me teaching classes on the phone, and I taught an Attracting Your Perfect Mate teleclass for 4 years.
4 years.
And some of this 4 years until 2008, when the economy kind of collapsed and, people decided not to spend money on relationship. People spend lots of money on business because they think they can improve their business, not realizing what you and I both know is that business is deeply personal.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
if you want to get your business right, you've got to get it right. Because the successful business is all about being in relationship with people, having conversations and enrolling them into whatever your offer is. And so
Exactly.
that's how I got started. Was just, she just threw me into the pool and said swim. And
Mhm.
I can't the experiences that I had discovering um, how the positive responses, great stories. Maybe I'll get a chance to tell as we go through the strategic attraction planning process. Um, just amazed me, absolutely amazed me, that when people become awake and aware and they deliberately, consciously decide to have a relationship that works for them, it's it's top end is unlimited in terms of the type of the quality you can have as being a unique relationship coach.
Exactly. And so, what would you say to all the singles out there who feel like they are clear on who their perfect mate is, but they still haven't met them yet, and it doesn't seem easy?
Yeah. Well, the first step, of course, would be to really look into this strategic attraction planning process that we'll have a chance to go through all 5 steps very quickly. And one of the first things that I've discovered is that it's become an interview, because when you get really clear and focused on what's perfect for you, when you, as you said, boil it down, um, what's most important to me, what are my values, and what's my purpose, you can literally go out on a dinner date and use the strategic attraction plan to attract the perfect dinner date before you show up. So you
Exactly.
can literally use the strategic attraction planning process to create the person who's going to be sitting across the table from you. You get there, it's a part of your nature. You just do what you do on a date, and you say, ABC, and they say XYZ. And, if it's because you're clear, if it's a match, then there's a second date. And if there's not, there's not.
Right, exactly. I mean, it sounds like the plan really gives you a way to measure whether the person sitting across from you is compatible or not with what's really most deeply important to you. And
Exactly. And you do it consciously, deliberately, and you do it before you get on the date.
right, exactly, which is definitely what I've noticed. So, yeah, I mean, I want our listeners to have a chance for you to walk them through the planning process. First, I want to ask you, I know that your book that you're offering everyone is called Being Attraction: What Love Has to Do with Business and Marketing. And so, what do you mean when you say being attraction?
Boy, that's I I spent a lot of my life studying researching consciousness, shall we say, and studying scriptures, ancient scriptures like the Vedas, and that being on the book is Being, and it's a play on the word being from I think it's either the Bhagavad Gita or book in the Vedas, aphorism says, Yogastha Kuru Karmani in Sanskrit, established in being, perform action. So I took that little aphorism, little phrase, and it's basically what I just said about going on a date. You establish your being before you perform the action of going out to dinner with someone.
Right.
You establish, who am I being? And who do I want to be? And action plan, so structure who that other person is going to be and how they're going to show up. It's like magic, but it's what I call real magic.
Exactly. Because we can't really plan for how someone else is going to be, but we can definitely plan for how we're going to be. And in that, other people tend to show up around us that match that, which is the law of attraction that you were talking about.
They show that's what. Okay, so you've given away another little secret of this seemingly simple 5-step process, which is exactly that. Other people show up in my life the way that I have them show up. I know it sounds crazy. It defies logic, but when I get really clear and focused.
I think it defies a lot of people's experience because we don't necessarily always have an awareness on how we're being. And so we tend to have a lot of inner conflict going on. And so what shows up on the outside sort of matches that inner conflict. So part of what I'm sure both of us do as coaches is to help people get in true alignment with who they really want to be. And then what shows up on the outside matches that. So I know that's a big part of it.
Wow. That is really profound wisdom. That's law of attraction.
Right,
it matches inner conflict inside of me. So that's what's so hard about relationship, Valerie, is because it looks like she did it to me.
Yeah.
But it's my inner conflict that quote did it to me. And so that's the magic, is you get your power back. They didn't do it to me.
And it's sort of like a bitter pill to swallow because
they simply matched.
Other people
it is. It's like it's
like the only thing we have control over is how we respond. And
I can say is that my work with the strategic attraction planning process over the last decade has allowed me to transform my inner conflicts in such a way that those less than perfect people, they don't have to show up in my vibrational territory because that bridge doesn't go up for me anymore. Now, I've also discovered there's a whole lot of inner conflict, shall we say. It's like 10,000 steps, and each step it takes 10,000 steps. So that's that's why, that's why you're doing what you're doing, is to help people. But that was, and I'm sorry, it's almost made me speechless, how pure that was, that you just a pearl.
Oh, sure. And likewise. And I'm also curious. So, what does love have to do with business and marketing? And what is the correlation? Because that's the book that you're offering to everyone. So I want people to
got it. So in that book are the success stories of entrepreneurial women, mostly women, who have used the strategic attraction planning process to create love and be successful at things like writing books, creating global. There's one of our perfect customers created a global business of teaching women leadership, how to be leaders in their family, in their community, in their country, and in the world. And cool. Last time I spoke with her, she was over in Kuwait with 250 women learning about leadership. And so, it's just so fulfilling for me that there's a bright light. So, live in a Fay, where people come. And a couple of years ago, I guess, we had a fella, Marty, came, and his partner dropped him off. And Marty said, "Well, if they make me take my shoes off, I don't know about this." Well, of course, the first thing we had was people take their shoes off, because we were meeting in this yurt up at Ojo Caliente, just north of Santa Fe, that had the floor had. So that first inner conflict that Marty had to deal with.
Right.
The next, so he spends 3 or 4 days, and he ends up falling in love with everyone on this retreat. His partner comes to pick him up afterwards, and Marty's telling us in a call afterwards. He says, "My partner came to pick me up, and he says to me, 'Well, what was it about?' And Marty says, 'I looked at him and I said, love.'" And his partner says to him, "Love? What's that got to do with business and marketing?" And Marty said, "I looked at him and I said, everything." So that's how we came up with the subtitle of the book.
Oh, that's great.
Because it turns out love actually has everything to do with business and marketing. The same principles that in building marketing, our definition of marketing is building relationship. So you've got to connect with people, then you've got to have a conversation, you've got to build relationship before you can, even try to sell something.
Yeah, or create agreements
so,
together, which is part of what makes up a relationship, is agreement.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That agreements and being able to know what's perfect for me, and being able to know that I can have that I can set boundaries. Once I know what it is that I want in my relationship, then I can make an agreement, which is basically a boundary. When I know that I can do that, then my guard goes down.
Yeah.
And intimacy, so I say into me, somebody experience intimacy when I have that in place, those agreements that you just mentioned. So
yeah, no, exactly.
That's what this. Again, you're uncovering all the secrets of the strategic attraction planning process. It's so great.
Well, wonderful, because
These are
that's what we're
things
here
that
for.
people. Yeah, exactly. But so that's what they discover is, what is it that I really want, and then they discover how to make agreements and how to set up boundaries. What my boundaries are, and once you can do that, like I say, that's when intimacy begins.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. So, can you give us some idea about this strategic attraction plan, and how our listeners and viewers can start creating a plan for themselves?
Yeah. So it's a 5S, and excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
This is the book Being Attraction: What Love Has to Do with Business and Marketing. And yes. The steps are on the back of the book.
Oh, great.
And at the time we wrote the book, there's
a copy of that book.
Yeah, the downloadable copy of this book. We're also, so the fifth step, there's a fifth step in a moment, but it is describe the qualities, characteristics, and attributes of your perfect, in the case of business, would be my perfect customer. In relationship, when I was teaching classes, I would find, the people would want to distinguish the type of relationship you're looking to attract. I remember this one class. There was a class who out of a really, long-term relationship, and she was just devastated. And she says, "Well, I don't know if I can want to attract a perfect mate." And she says, "But I'd like to go out on a dinner date." So we did an attraction plan for attracting her perfect dinner date, because the principles are the same whether you're attracting a dinner date or a soulmate. So
Yeah.
that's the first step, is type of relationship attract. And then the first step of the process is describe the qualities, characteristics, and attributes of my perfect husband, dinner date, soulmate, whatever resonates for me. And step number one, people find you can have results within 48 hours. People have told me that, wow, I didn't know I got to say what the qualities, attributes were. And so it really a very simple step of being conscious and deliberate about what are the qualities I'm looking for. For example, right now, Valerie, you could, so this works whether you're single, married, or in a committed relationship. Because it's not that you're trying to change, if you're married, it's not you're trying to change your husband. It's just you're looking to attract your perfect mate.
Right. And
And
you're
so
looking to
if I
bring
get
out those
clear about that,
qualities that
about
are
what that is for me,
exactly.
because what results is, as you said so wisely, is that the inner conflicts begin to get resolved. And when those inner conflicts get resolved, then my relationships get to show up in a whole different way.
Definitely.
So, what would give me, say, three qualities, characteristics, or attributes of what would your type of relationship be that you'd want to attract?
Me personally?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
sure.
Let's
Yeah.
let's give everybody an example.
Exactly. Well, for this example, why don't I pick my current partner because he's wonderful. And I also know
Great.
that
So,
I mean, of course things could always get better, but I also know that I was very familiar with the law of attraction when I met him, and this definitely is the process that I've used in order to attract him. So I'd love to walk people through this process. So for me,
yes,
so you want me to pick three? And I definitely knew this when I
yeah.
met him.
Just off the top of your head. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I wanted him to be really personal growth oriented, spiritually evolved. That's number one. Um, Number two, I wanted him to be passionate and ambitious, like where I
Yeah.
could really feel his, masculine drive. And number three, I wanted him to be really kind and compassionate. So I know
Right.
those are like,
That's perfect. Okay. So everybody's now has an example of what step number one would look like. Those are some of the qualities, characteristics, and attributes. And the reason that I asked you for these is because one of the things that I've discovered is, especially for men, it's very with these
examples. Yeah,
and
exactly.
yeah, and so I can actually borrow, so people can borrow the benefits of what you've just said. So that's basically step one. You just continue to work on step one. And one of the ways that you can discover qualities, characteristics, and attributes that are perfect for you is look at what's going on around you in your vibrational territory. You go to a restaurant, you go to Starbucks or someplace, a waiter or some Starbucks barista or whatever they call them today, demonstrates a quality that you'd like to see in your perfect partner. Well, you remember that, write it down, and then take it when you get home, write it onto your attraction plan. Now, one of the interesting secrets is that if I see something that's less than perfect, somebody speaks me rude, what I can do is I can take that and turn that around, and that becomes a quality.
Right, exactly.
So kind and compassionate, for example, that's how you maybe got there.
Well, yes, and I also know that some people are kind and compassionate around some people and rude around others, and so I know it has a lot to do with how I'm being, which I know we're going to get to.
That's step number. So step number one is about them. And so, for example, what you do is it's a long list of qualities, characters, and attributes. And so you can see how this is where we begin, just in a very, very simple way, to step into being conscious and deliberate about attracting what I want in my life and taking responsibility for that. Spirit, you know what that looks like. You could write, 10 pages of what that means to Valerie. Passionate, you know what that looks like. Ambitious, in his masculine, kind and compassionate. So what we do is step number one is every day we look at these qualities, add to the qualities, and then maybe pick one and write out what
it means to you.
And the
Yeah.
clear, yeah, exactly what it means to me. And so that does a number of things. In quantum mechanics physics, what it does is simply by putting my attention on these qualities, it begins to resonate in my body. Okay, so it's really a simple thing. This is not some thing that you have to force and have to, I've really got to change the way I think. And no, do is just and clear about what it is that I want and have it in your awareness every day. And then, for example, you would look at spiritually evolved, well, what does that look like to me? And I add to my attraction plan what that looks like to me. The next day, maybe I pick another one. Ambitious, passionate. What does that look like to me? And so by putting my attention on that, and I know this is, like woo-woo, but it's quantum mechanics physics.
Yeah,
but
and
when I put my attention on that,
it's also neuroscientific. Like the brain will,
right?
Because we're deleting 90% of what we're seeing around us based on what we're looking for. So like if you see a pair of red shoes, let's say, and that you really like, all of a sudden you'll start to notice everyone around you that's wearing red shoes, but it's just because you have that as a filter that's set up in your mind.
Right.
So you're gonna notice the things that you're looking for. So if you have a belief that says, all the good ones are taken, you're not gonna notice the good ones that aren't.
Yeah, and this is how we change our beliefs, because beliefs are simply grooves in the neuron pathways that have, it's kind of straight, but grooves that have been, grooved as a result of my constantly thinking a thought.
Yeah, exactly.
Over and over in the electronic. And so to change my beliefs, this is how you do that, by putting your attention on something different, on the way I actually want it to be. So
that's step one.
That's step one. And, I've gone through the whole attraction plan in 5 minutes with people in 5 days. So you can go as deep as you want with this. And step two is really fun because, well, this is where, it's like baby steps to the edge. Step two is identify what makes you and your perfect partner tick. This is where we have a metaphor in the Perfect Customers book that it's like a lighthouse. And step two is like lighting the light in my lighthouse. And the metaphor is, can you imagine a lighthouse deciding that, oh, I need to get all the ships out, sprouts legs and arms, and starts running up and down the beach trying to get the attention of all the ships. Well, I used to ask when I did live workshops, I'd say, well, how much time do you spend like the lighthouse, or how much time do you spend like being like a searchlight running up and down the beach? And people would actually say 80 to 90% of their time they felt like they were running up and down the beach trying to get people's attention.
Wow.
When the truth is that you get the attention of who's being the lighthouse.
Right, exactly.
Firmly, and then just radiating your light. And so this is how we radiate our light is, again, like step one was just being clear and focused. What's perfect for me in qualities, characters, and attributes. Well, what makes me tick? What gets me out of bed in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
What do I want to leave? What is my passion? What is my purpose? And so step two turns out to be just maybe a few words. My step two has evolved over the last decade to what makes me tick is connection, connection, connection. And so for me, what that means is connection with myself, connection with my divine, and connection with other people. Volumes on what that really means for me. Now, I was a hard nut when Jan first asked me this question. Well, Alan, what makes you tick? I had no idea. I was in a corporate environment. That's something we never talked about. And she says, well, do you have a perfect customer? And I did. There was a guy named Dede Baleshi. I'll never forget him. He and I clicked the first phone call, and he said, oh, Alan, this tomorrow I'll have 250 customers for you. And sure enough, in the next 2 days, there were 250 letters of authorization in my fax box.
That's awesome.
And Dede and I we got to know each other pretty well. And he would settle people. He would help people come here from Albania. He would find them, plan them a job. He'd get them service so they could call back to Albania and stay connected with their family. But that was his. So Jan says to me, well, what do you think makes Dede tick? And it was by looking at my perfect customer, and because it was easier for me to say what I thought made him tick.
Yeah.
And then she, of course, says,
beautiful.
after that, I said, oh, got it. Okay.
Right, because you're going to attract people that have similar things that make them tick.
Yeah, exactly. I've had experiences when I walk people through step number two. I remember that I was working with a large network marketing company out in California, and there's this one kid who's a surfer dude, California surfer dude, and he was just doing this to make money so he could surf. And when we got to the part of what made him tick, and it was something like, loving people and connecting, instead with nature and whatnot. He just looked at what made him tick, and he just looked up at me and goes, wow, that explains everything.
It sounds so cute.
So it's really fun. Yeah, it's really fun for me to be present to these moments of awakening that people have when I share step two with them.
Sure.
It just, I don't know, it continues to amaze me. So step two, just sort of a short expression, what makes you tick. And, like I said, it could take you, if you're like me, take me to really get the wordsmithing of it. And some people get it in 30 seconds.
Right. And I know that it's a deeper process in terms of how to actually get that clarity. Right now, we're just giving people like an overview.
Yeah, we are literally scratching the surface.
Right.
But if you just get the idea So step number 3 is where you get to go as deep as you want. Step 3 is specify your partner to expect of you. It's worded in a very specific way. The reason it's worded this way is because we generally think of, oh, well, I have to find out what they want, and then I have to give it to them. No, we take that and turn it completely upside down, because it turns out that my perfect partner wants from me what I want to give.
Yeah, that's really profound.
So, yeah, and this is where you can literally end the power struggle. Begin to end the power struggle, because you discover that the power actually is here in me.
Right.
I'm actually in control of really getting clear what my boundaries are, and and being able to take a stand for them.
Yeah, and what you want your perfect partner to expect of you is also the ways that you want to grow.
Exactly. Example, as I said, step 1 is about them. Step 2 is about both of us. And step 3 is about me. So if step 3 is about me and step 1 is about them, and law of attraction is that which is likened to itself is drawn, what would I want? If we look at some of the examples you came up with in step 1, what would I want my perfect partner to expect of me? Spiritually passionate.
Right. Exactly. So are you asking
ambitious? Since you came up with these,
of course.
and you just said,
exactly. If I'm wanting him to be spiritually evolved and personal growth oriented, then I expect I want him to expect those things of me and to hold me to the same standard, of course.
Right.
And if I want him to be ambitious,
so the emphasis is on.
I want to be ambitious. Right, exactly.
Yeah, and so that's the key. It is what you want, right, Valerie?
Exactly, and I think
you want to be ambitious.
It's really wonderful when we get into the polarities of the masculine and feminine too, because it's like I also want a man who's ambitious so that I can surrender to a purpose that we create together. So that I'm really ambitious and I want him to expect me to be ambitious, but then I also want to blossom as the feminine partner who holds, the surrender and the collaboration and all of the feminine gifts that go along with that. And so it's like I want him to hold the masculine polarity so I can hold the feminine polarity, and of course that's what we have.
Right.
And so but I want him to expect that want to surrender to our mutual ambition, that I'm not going to have this strong ambition outside of the partnership, and that's me, but of course I don't think every woman should be like that, but it's like this is really about tapping into your most deep and authentic desires, that my ambition comes from collaboration, and that's my deepest value. And so of course I attracted a partner where his ambition comes from collaboration too.
Right. So what you just said is really profound also, because you're right. There's some women who would rather be in their masculine.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I mean, it's important to define what that is.
I want him to expect.
We're using masculine here just to be like, we're goal oriented and, we're ambitious and we want to lead and strategize and
directed and purposeful.
Yeah, exactly. And those are good qualities. I like having those qualities, but it's like, I want him to expect that when he's holding that I can be more in my feminine and collaborate and bring beauty and fun and sensuality and playfulness.
Yeah, so there's the key. More in, because that's what's perfect for you.
Exactly.
So I want him to expect me. Yeah, exactly. So that's the polarity. I want him to be in his masculine, and I want him to expect me to be in my feminine. Okay, because that's what makes the magnets stick.
Right, exactly.
Right now, so what happens when you use magnets together for a while?
For a while, what happens when you use them together? I don't know.
Yeah,
Just
did you ever when you were in first grade? Don't you remember? I used to have a little white Scotty dog and a black Scotty dog, and they the little magnets. And when you rub the magnets together, they stopped sticking.
ah,
They lost their polarity. Yeah. So now what do you do? I mean, as you've experienced, this is what happens in relationship. It's
well, exactly.
the
I mean, so
polar. So
I do.
how do you revive that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I do. There's two kind of opposing necessary things, in my opinion. Um, like what you just said is that when you rub them together too much, like for example, if I expected him to have all the ambition and then I just got to be in the
Well,
feminine, then
there is no too
it
much.
actually wouldn't
Oh,
grow.
Valerie, there's no too much. There's no too much rubbing your magnets together.
Well, yes,
I mean, I'm making a joke out of it, but the too
but no, I
much
mean,
that you
does
refer
it does
is
happen over time when people rely on their partner. Like if I wasn't ambitious and I relied on him to be, and then all I did was surrender to his ambition, that would get old after a while because I wouldn't grow. So I do think that it's important to
yeah.
maintain
So that's
polarity, that I also hold on to my individual ambition. So that's the first thing.
right. So maintain the polarity. How we do that is whatever it for you to be in your feminine.
Right, of
Now,
course. And so that's like
you
self
know,
care and, taking dance classes
exactly.
and being in my
What do I
body,
have? Right.
paying attention to my feelings and all the things that I teach women.
Exactly. So and so he has to do that also. He has to know what it is to stay direct, ambitious, masculine, so that he can be that, you know, and that's how you keep the attraction. That's how by polarity, by keeping the polarity in place, those magnets will constantly, it doesn't matter how much you rub them together. That was the joke. The point that I was trying to make is
Okay.
that when you learn how you can deliberately, consciously, stay in your masculine and your feminine when you want, that's where the attraction magnetic. Now, you're right. Each of us as men or women have access to masculine energy or feminine energy
Right.
at any time, and we get to access that for whatever the situation is. So if I'm in business and I need some direction, and you know, then I'm in my masculine.
Of course.
If I need some creativity, some imagination, something new, I dip into my. So that's available,
Exactly.
and that availability is really powered by the two of you knowing that you can be in your feminine and he's in his masculine, and the one mutually empowers the other.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you go and be ambitious and productive, directed and purposeful in your business, and so to see. But the little secret, Valerie, I think that you probably are intrinsic. It's the feminine energy that produces results. We all think it's the masculine energy that's being directed and purposeful because that's what it looks like on the outside, taking action in a specific direction, etc. But what actually causes the movement of energy in any successful or producing any kind of result is in fact the feminine. But that's a whole conversation that we
Right.
have courses and programs that we go into for that. So
Exactly. And it's about
this
that being that you talked about earlier. because that
Exactly.
being is feminine. But anyway, I do want to get on to the steps 4 and 5, just so that we could leave
Yes.
our listeners with a
Well,
little
I just want to
outline.
mention, right, I want to mention about step number 3. This is where you give up the need to be a victim. This is where you discover that I am actually the one in control. I can get clear and focus what my boundaries are, and as a result of that, I can have as much intimacy as I want to access. So step 4, now that you've got descriptors of my perfect, identify what makes me and my perfect partner tick, and specify what I want them to expect of me, what I want them to expect of me, since that's what they want anyway. Step 4 is declare who you get to be to attract all of that. So is there a name for you being in relationship to attract all of this?
Me, like one word.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me,
One
it's
or two
really about
words.
being present. Because when I'm really
Right.
present, then I'm capable of um, having all of those qualities that I'm committed to having. Meaning that all those things that I
Yeah.
identified that make me tick. I'm aware of all of that, and
Right.
I'm aware of who I'm being, and I'm aware of who he's being, and I can have compassion for him wherever he's had, and I could be aware of how to empower him if he's not feeling empowered, and that all comes from being present.
Yeah. So present to what?
Um, for me,
Like
it's
who?
about my top 3 things that make me tick are love and wisdom and empowerment. And so those are the things that I'm always
Yeah.
aware of.
It's right. I have a feeling there's the word goddess is in there somewhere.
I like
I
the
don't
word
know if that's been,
goddess. It's a fun
yeah,
word.
because when you're really present to who you authentically are, like really, no kidding, who is that
Sure, we can call it a goddess.
woman? Yeah, divine goddess energy. So I would invite you to look at some beings to establish yourself in that are in that realm, especially since spiritual evolution, spiritually evolved was one of your qualities and characteristics. And so a being would be, I'm being spiritually evolved.
Right, exactly.
And so if I was fully spiritually evolved, who would I be or what would I be?
Yeah, I mean, I like we can use the word goddess, or sometimes I use that I'm being my higher self. But I mean, it kind
Yeah.
of goes beyond words. But when I'm in that state, I'm definitely joyful and playful and open and compassionate and all of the things that I want to be.
Yeah. Another being would be, yeah, another one for you would be, I'm being unique relation. That's a B for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because you get the uniqueness and the fundamental difference that it takes to actually be in a relationship. And so that's what you help people attain that. And so the step number 5 is one that we left out of the book because we just thought it went without saying, and that is about action. So step 5 is, what is active action that I can to attract my perfect partner?
Yep.
And so that might be, for example, the next most attractive action that I could take would be to download, the Being Attraction book or the Attracting Your Perfect Mate e-guide. The next most attractive action might be to actually do an attraction plan for attracting my perfect mate. my perfect husband, wife, whatever.
Exactly. And
so
that's
you,
a perfect segue into the things that you are offering everyone who's listening today.
yeah, I actually have a website that it's called Attracting Your Perfect Mate. attractingyourperfectmate.com. It's got a lot of resources there. I haven't really played with it. I haven't really updated it that much recently because we've been focusing mostly on attracting perfect customers. And so this opportunity to, to just dip my toe back into, relationship analysis. Of course, being in relationship with Jan, the author of the Attracting Perfect Customers, A Power of Strategic Synchronicity book, keeps me completely immersed
Yes,
in having to practice these principles moment by moment, day by day.
yes, you have to
And
live them. That's what you want her to expect of you.
yep, it has brought me to and being in a relationship with my perfect mate has allowed me to and give my truest gift and just have a whole lot of fun doing it. And I love the fact that I'm seeing such incredible results with the people that we're working with now with the Perfect Customers program.
Yeah. Do you have any fun stories that you want to impart about people using the process?
I have a lot of fun stories, boy. Okay, one of my most fun, one of Alan Davidson, 6'4" fabulous gay man, married to an incredible man lived in Houston. Alan wrote a book called Through Your Body, and he came to a retreat here in Santa Fe, and he was working on had a goal that he wanted to interview Marianne Williamson about his book. And Marianne's had told him, "Oh, that's really great, Alan. Your book is beautiful, but there's 500 people in front of you." So he comes and at this retreat, we develop a strategy for him to have this interview with Marianne Williamson. Gets in his car, drives to Albuquerque, gets on the plane, which is delayed 20 minutes. Who's sitting in class seat next to her? Marianne Williamson. And he says to her, he introduces himself, and she goes, "Oh, you're the author of that beautiful book my assistant showed me." And he goes, "Yes, your assistant told me that I have 500 people in front of me." And Marianne looks at him and says, "Call her again tomorrow."
Oh my God.
And he had the interview within 2 weeks.
That's great.
So Alan Davidson is an example of somebody, and he's now top product launch in the country. He is just amazing what he's done. So that's just one of many, 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 many stories about how to use a strategic attraction plan to fulfill on anything you want and everything you want in life.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And it has been an hour, so I want to let our listeners in on some ways that they can get in touch with you and also hear more about your other offerings to them. And I know that you're offering a free download of the Being Attraction book. And for anyone who's listening to this, you'll get an email with the link for that tomorrow if you're listening to this live. And if you watch the YouTube replay, I'm going to post the link underneath the replay so they'll get to see it. Do you want to tell them about other classes or programs that you're offering?
Well, it's on our website at perfectcustomers.com or attractingyourperfectmate.com. You can just go to the website there and get on our mailing list, and we'll let anything that's going. Myriad of products and programs, starting with a SACAT program, Strategic Attraction Coaching and Training. There had this SACAT. There had to be a cat in there because Jan loves cats. And it's basically where we train people and authorize them to not only use the process in their own life and business and relationship, but to use it in their own business, to teach it to others. So it's a certification program. And, we have a lot of coaching available. So anybody who's a coach and would like to add the strategic attraction planning process to their coaching business, I really highly recommend our SACAT program. The next one will probably be starting in the fall.
Okay, that's wonderful. And they can find out more about that on your website. On your several websites, but
yes.
The one that you provided was
you can call me, email me,
Yeah. And we have links to your free downloads in the email and below the video. So is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with? Any parting last thoughts?
Yeah, I would just say is you can have everything in the world you really want if you just get clear about what that is. First step.
And I agree, which is why I wanted to do this interview with you, because I think that your strategic planning process is fundamental for getting clear on who you really are and what you really want to show up in your life, and then taking action and with positive expectations. And I've definitely found, sometimes there's more challenges that we have to grow to overcome in the way, but if we're really willing to show up and be who we really want to be, then I've found that we do attract what it is that we desire. So it's definitely been a long journey for me, but that's what I'm finding.
That's it. It is. It's not an overnight thing. It is a process, and I just want to thank you, Valerie, for giving me the opportunity to live my purpose, give my truest gift, and be my passion.
Thank you, and likewise, because I've loved speaking to you, and this is part of my.
We have had a good time. Yes.
So great. So like I said, if you're watching the YouTube video, you can click the links below this for the free downloads, and you should get an email about it if you are watching this through Webinar Jam. And if not, you can always email either one of us. So my email is valerie@coachvaleriegreen.com. And Alan's is alan@perfectcustomers.com. So feel free to get in touch with us that way too. And thank you so much. This has been fun.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye.